A Department of Justice memo this week said those who impede immigration enforcement could be subject to prosecution. Do you believe that you could be targeted because of Chicago's welcoming city ordinance?
And we are back, y'all. Thank you for watching today. Go ahead and hit that like button, y'all. You know that it helps us out a ton, and it helps you because it helps us. Now, y'all, I feel like there is a battle royale that is shaping up among many of the nation's top elected officials on the state level, and then the presidential level of Donald Trump, the executive branch. I just feel like a battle royale is shaping up. We've been covering Fani and all of her back and forth with Trump. We have also covered Letitia James, who you're going to see a little bit more of right now because she's spoken out again. And we also need to talk about Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. Now, first, we're going to talk about Letitia James, and then we'll get to Mr. Johnson, who also potentially, just like Fani, just like Letitia James, potentially is being threatened with some kind of legal action or even jail if he does not go along with Donald Trump's program, y'all. So I want to hear what you have to say about that. But first, let's talk about what Miss James had to say. See, the battle lines that are being drawn with Miss James of New York and Mr. Johnson have to do with immigration. Now, Ms. James is saying, look, Trump, you can't just come into office and make New Yorkers do your bidding as it relates to deporting people from New York State. She cites a very important Supreme Court precedent that says as much. It says, look, you cannot make state police enforce federal law. So first, we're going to listen to what Ms. James has to say in her own words. And then we're going to come back and we're going to get a little bit of reaction. Then we're going to go on to Mr. Brandon Johnson, who seems like he might be threatened with jail if he tries to get in Trump's way. So first, let's hear what Ms. James has to say.
So I'll read a statement. This is a statement regarding the mass deportation orders. So I just want to briefly address the mass deportation orders that we have been reviewing along with other Democratic attorneys general all across this nation. As most of you know, we have been preparing for this moment for some time, which is why there was a quick response to the birthright citizenship executive order. We filed within hours. And there are other announcements that have been coming from Washington regarding immigration issues, and it is well established through long-standing Supreme Court precedent that the United States Constitution prevents the federal government from commandeering states to enforce federal laws. Let me say that again. The United States Constitution prevents the federal government from commandeering states to enforce federal laws. And while the federal government may use its own resources for federal immigration enforcement, the court ruled in Prince, P-R-I-N-T-Z, versus the United States, that the federal government cannot impress into its service and at no cost to itself the police officers of the 50 states. The balance of power between the federal government and state government is a touchstone of our American system of federalism, and the president cannot unilaterally rewrite the Constitution. As New York State's Attorney General, I will enforce our state's law, and I'll be not distracted by all of the noise that's coming from Washington, D.C., and will not sit idly by while the Constitution is being undermined. Again, we are not individuals who are the face of resistance. We are willing to work with the office of President Trump, but when it comes to any violation of the United States Constitution or the Constitution of the state of New York or the rights of vulnerable or marginalized populations, including but not limited to the immigrant communities, we will enforce the law. Thank you so much.
So y'all, I'm going to agree with Miss Letitia James in as much as she says that the Supreme Court has ruled that the president, the executive branch, the federal government cannot require the states to help with the enforcement of federal law. So y'all learned this in law school, y'all. So now I do believe in enforcing our immigration laws. I do believe that the state should be and has a vested interest in assisting the federal government. So I'm certainly not stamping with approval the idea that, oh, just come to our state and you can get away. I'm not down with that. But she is correct in as much as she's saying, look, the Supreme Court has ruled you can't make us help you. You can come in the state with the federal government police, with ICE, with FBI, with whomever. You can enforce federal laws with the federal police, but you can't make the state police help you enforce federal laws. So she's right about that. Now, y'all, let's move on to Mr. Johnson of Chicago. Chicago residents, frankly, from what I've seen, it seems like they have been fed up with what they seem to have said. And now I'm not speaking for y'all. Y'all can certainly let me know in the comments. But I've seen a lot of Chicago residents who seem to have who've had it up to here with feeling like they're getting the short end of the stick, while people who are not in the country legally seem to have been accommodated. Now, I don't know if that's the case. That's just what I've seen on social media. So certainly feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Now, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Brandon Johnson, who's the Chicago mayor, he wants everybody to know, hey, come on over, y'all. If you're not in the country legally, come on over. We got you. We'll take care of you at our expense. Of course, the Trump administration is not down with that, right? So he has been threatened, apparently, with potential legal action up to jailing if he gets in the way of the Trump administration.
Mayor Brandon Johnson sitting down for a one-on-one interview today talking about what the city is doing, and he made it clear that Chicago will not be intimidated by any threats of action from the Trump administration, even ones that could land him or the city in court. Mayor Brandon Johnson ready for wherever the battle may go over the rights of undocumented immigrants who are just minding their own business and going about their lives. What do you make of the fact that there have been no raids so far?
Well, first of all, let me just reaffirm our position as clearly as I possibly can, that we will always remain a welcoming and sanctuary space.
The mayor said he has no intelligence on when any raids by ICE agents could happen or how many people might be targeted, although sources have told ABC7 Homeland Security is going after dozens of people here in Chicago. The Trump DOJ seems to now have taken off the gloves by saying that they will pursue deportation targets in schools and churches. What is your response?
And I find that to be quite frank with you, I find that to be unconscionable and reprehensible.
A Department of Justice memo this week said those who impede immigration enforcement could be subject to prosecution. Do you believe that you could be targeted because of Chicago's welcoming city ordinance?
Well, look, my main focus is protecting the residents and the people of the city of Chicago. You know, the threats that are coming from this current administration are threats that we're not intimidated by.
U.S. attorneys' offices across the country have also been directed to review sanctuary laws and be prepared to challenge them in court if warranted. How is the city preparing to defend the welcoming city ordinance?
Yeah, so I've directed my corporate counsel to look at all of the executive orders that are coming from the current administration, and we will have a comprehensive response to each of those executive orders.
The mayor telling me the main objective at this moment is to ensure the safety of the people of Chicago, and Johnson says the city will stand up against what he called intimidation and fear-stoking coming from the Trump administration.
So, y'all, I would like to know, what do you have to say about this? Like, what's your opinion? Do you think that the states should be protecting people and welcoming people and hiding people and abetting people who are not in the country legally? Do you think that we should just say, hey, you know what, you've been here for a while, let bygones be bygones, you get to stay? Or do you think that the states should be assisting the Trump administration or any administration who wants to deport people who don't have permission to be in our country? And secondly, do you think that a mayor or a state official who tries to assist people in not being detected by the federal government, should that person face prosecution? I'd like to hear what you have to say, y'all. You know, I am so humbled and so grateful for y'all watching. Please do like, comment, subscribe. Drop your comment down below. Let me know what you think about this and share this video out. Again, appreciate you watching, and we'll see you back in the next one.